level.
Policy?
And what does that mean?
Kind of like suggesting or proposing a type of action or next
Exactly. It's an action. What do we do about this? Or what should we do about this? Well, somebody give me a run through from the inside to the outside.
I don't have that.
Okay, so I guess the fact, which is just like the details of what happened, and then definition, so just some like naming.
What do we call it? What do we name it?
Yeah. What you're naming, and then quality or evaluation, which is like the judgment, and then policy, which is the actual action that you're going to take from that.
Okay, and all of those, each one of those levels is what's called a stasis. Okay, and that's where we meet. A stasis is where we meet. So me and the person discussing, or the moderator and the candidate. So are we talking about the facts? Are we talking about the judgment? Are we talking about the policy? That's a point of stasis. Okay, is this jogging your guys' memory a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. So today, we're going to start with how do you prepare yourself? Okay, so what I shared with you when we met was basically the end. Now we're going to go to the beginning. Okay? And I'm going to share my screen so we're going to walk through this. I don't know how best you guys take notes, or if you don't want to take notes, that's fine.
Ooh.
This is where we're going to start. Okay. I can't see you guys, but can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Please, at any point, if you have a question, stop me. Okay? So to prepare yourself for a productive exchange, or basically for the debate, you need to know what I say, three things. You need to know your goal and your purpose. You need to know your topic, and then you need to know your strategy. Okay? We worked on strategy. That was the first thing that I worked on. So I think that's important because we're now going to go to the beginning so you can see how it all ties together. Okay? I just put some quotes here because people lose heart when they put quotes. But basically, here it is. The Socratic dialogue or the Socratic method is actually known by its academic name as elenchus or elentic. That's another way of saying it. And basically, the history behind it is this is a method where we pose critical thinking in order to achieve some sort of a goal. Okay, that's the academic way. Basically, it's how do we make good questions. Okay, so let's start. We're going to actually use this method and work through this. So somebody explain to me what the Socratic method is. How do you understand it?
Come on, guys, speak up.
I think on a very basic level, it seems to me that the Socratic method is really just trying to engage with the candidate on a level that's going to bring a greater understanding of what the candidate intends to do with their position if they're elected to that position, and then it's also it's performing the same role as a forum, in that you're also giving information like critical thinking and ideas to the public as well, so that they can make an informed decision upon
Let's
them.
take a step back.
Yeah.
What is the method? What makes the Socratic method different than any other type of forum that you've been a part of?
It's a cooperative
It's really
discussion.
simple. It's really simple. It's like you explain it to a middle schooler. What is it?
It's a cooperative discussion between two people or a group of people to get to the underlying facts.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it is. All it is it's a question and answer. It's a question and answer. And there's usually one person who's directing the discussion, who is the questioner. Right? Okay, so that's all it is. It's a question and answer done to learn more, okay? To discover more information, okay? So that way you guys know what, it's really simple, but it's important to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? So I'm giving you guys some academics so you can sound smart. There's different ways of calling this the exact same thing. The Socratic method, the Elentic method, it's a dialectic. What is the purpose? What is our goal in this type of exchange?
To inform the public the best way we can about what they need to know to make an informed decision.
Yeah. Let's go. Take a step back. We're not diving into the debate yet. I just want to go to the actual method, the actual discussion that's happening. What is your purpose as a person who asks the questions?
To provide clarity on I guess the future of the position in order, but also do it in such a way that's unbiased.
Okay, so the first 5 words you said were correct. I go with that. It's first of all, it's to provide clarity. What else is the purpose in this type of an exchange? What kind of clarity?
Where you're, I guess, alleviating some of the, well, in some situations, you're alleviating some of the, like, I guess, predispositions that you have towards, like, the role.
Good. So explain that to a middle schooler. When you say predispositions, assumption, what is it? How do you explain that to a 6th grader?
Well, when you have, well, like I said, in some situations where you, or even if you have negative or positive ideas about something before you actually have a good understanding or
Okay, somebody explain it to a 6th grader.
Uh-huh.
You're right, but I want you to simplify it.
Right.
All this can be very simple.
Uh-huh.
To get to the facts?
Yeah, and that's part of it. I mean, the 4 stasis circles are where you're trying to get to. I mean, that's ultimately what you're trying to uncover, right? You're trying to uncover what happened. What do we call it? What do we name it? What is this good or bad? You know, what kind of judgment do we put on it, and what do we do about it? But this is really just very fundamental. It's trying to figure out somebody's decision-making process. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're trying to figure out how they made their decision. Okay? What is it? This is a question and answer with, let's just say it's a question and answer exchange. Okay? Make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Next step. Who is involved in the exchange? These are very simple questions. Actually, I think Evan or Emilio or Evan, which one is it? Mesa.
Esteban.
Esteban. It's neither. Esteban, you answered this. Who's involved?
The person asking the question, so the moderator and then the candidate, but then indirectly the audience as well.
Mm-hmm. The audience. And this goes for anything, even in interpersonal discussions. There's you, the person asking the question, the person answering the question, and anybody else who happens to overhear. Okay? Let me take a step back. If you do any kind of research on the Socratic method or the Elentic method, okay? The purpose that you're going to find out, or you're going to see, some people say the purpose is basically to humiliate somebody. You're supposed to ask a person enough questions that they basically look dumb. Like you make them look like they don't know what they're talking about. That's not the purpose. If that's a consequence of the Socratic method, that's the candidate's fault. That's not your fault. That's their fault for not being prepared. But that's not our purpose. Our purpose is just to figure out how did they come to their decision. Do they know the biases? Do they know their facts? Do they know the values that they put into the process? That's what we're trying to uncover. Following?
Yes.
I have a quick
Okay.
question. Do they even know the processes that they're dealing with?
No, I think most people don't know. This usually happens at a subconscious level. Okay? I mean, if you, I think we made an example where when we were in class, you said something about Miss Capaldi, and you're like, oh yeah, she's a good teacher. You know, it's sort of the iceberg analogy. The decision is what comes out of my mouth. How I came to that decision is usually in my head and my heart. It's under this. It's under the water. It's the bottom part of the iceberg. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Or if you ask Gary, he probably says, yeah, most politicians don't know what the heck they're talking about. They got talking points. So we can go down that route too. So that's. Now let's start getting a little bit more specific. What is the purpose of the moderator? And I think Ilyana alluded to it earlier.
Well, I mean, essentially what the purpose of the moderator is to like get the most valuable information that they can out to the public so that they can make the most informed decision possible.
Okay, so one thing is information gather. Okay, so yes, they're trying to get information. But what else is the purpose of the moderator? What is your role? You're sitting in that spot interrogating. Oh,
I'm so
I
happy.
was gonna say, to like be that filling that provides the transparency between the process and everybody else.
Better
Just like
save
you
that
said,
answer,
the
save that.
process is not transparent. It's under the water, and you're the force that lifts it above.
one second.
Are you moving? What are you doing? Are you on a car?
There he goes.
One second.
Still have 10 minutes.
Okay, so I bought you guys some time.
Yes.
What are you doing?
So what else? What is the purpose of the moderator?
So, if you're making that analogy to, like, the entire process is under the water, like as in an iceberg, the process is under the water, you could say that the moderator's purpose is to lift that iceberg up and make the process, and be the buoyant force in lifting the iceberg up and making the process apparent to everyone rather than just the decision itself.
Okay, so I mean,
He's talking about raising the iceberg.
So, uncovering the problem.
I mean, they both go hand in hand.
Draining the swamp.
There's a deeper moral purpose that I'm trying to get to.
Hold the person accountable?
Oh, there you go,
No, a little bit different. I mean, you're not really holding anybody accountable when you're asking them questions.
I mean, you could go back to being unbiased. I think that's being an unbiased, like, force in showing the process.
No, but I mean, bias really doesn't matter in this because the moderator's role is not an act. I mean, it's important to uncover the biases and the decision making of the candidate.
Right.
Yes, but that's part of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
How
also,
about this? Hey, go ahead.
just keeping the discussion on track and making sure that they don't just give like the typical politician answers.
Okay, so maybe that's probably what you meant by keeping accountable. So directing the discussion. Yes, that's very true, because the moderator in the Socratic dialogue is very different than the moderator in a forum, who is basically just a timekeeper. I think the analogy that I gave last time is, in previous weed debates, the moderator was a referee, or they were a timekeeper. They would just keep time. And then now you're more of a referee, where you have an active role. You can step in and throw the flag or blow the whistle and say, no, you're out of bounds. We need to get back in bounds. Or, no, you broke the rule of the game. You get penalized for it. So if that helps you imagine it a little bit more, let's just, here's more the referee versus the timekeeper. There's one big thing. Who's let's go back here. Let's go here. Who's involved? Who's involved in this experience?
The
Okay. The moderator, the candidate, and
The audience.
okay, who is this debate primarily for?
The audience.
The voting.
Okay, so it's not about you and it's not about the candidate. It's about the audience. Okay? So what role does the moderator play for the audience?
To ask the questions the audience wants to know about.
Yes, they are the audience's voice. That's the purpose of the moderator. Okay? And this is very, very, very important, because I shared this with you guys last time, or with y'all last time. One of the things that we discussed about staying on topic, or staying on the stasis, is drill for specifics. No, can you be, you asked the candidate, can you be more specific? Can you give me more evidence? Can you give me more detail? The hiccup we had in the mayoral debate was one moderator asked for very, very specific answers to a question that doesn't matter. Does that make sense? Like, he followed the rules. He did what he was told and taught to do, but it doesn't help the audience. Even if the candidate answered the question, it's not a helpful question.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
So at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, that's who you represent, is the audience. All right?
Right.
And then, last thing. What makes a good question?
Maybe something that gets the candidate away from like the judgment zone and more into the definition and facts.
Okay, so let's say you're sticking to the stasis. That's very important. I don't imagine it happening, but you can ask the candidate, well, why do you think this is a bad thing? So it's not necessarily a problematic question. You're just making sure that you're sticking to that point. Okay? So yes, I agree. Anything else? What else makes a good question?
It's not presumptuous.
It's not what?
Presumptuous.
Right, okay, don't be arrogant.
Something you don't already know the answer to?
Okay, that's a very good, okay, so let me reframe that to be the defendant.
Seven's hitting a lot of mail.
What is it?
What?
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh. Like, what was my initial response?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, An open-ended question is not, do you agree with this or not?
Right.
Okay? A closed question is, it has a yes or a no. If you notice, all the questions I've been asking you are open-ended. They allow for multiple answers. They allow the freedom or the flexibility of somebody to answer the question, or they can be wrong, or they can be right. Okay? And I think we talked about this last time is don't ask leading questions. Somebody want to remind me what that was?
I think that was kind of what I was getting at, like unbiased.
A question
Yeah.
that leads them to the answers they want to hear.
Like when the answer is pretty much already in the question.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have the answer in the question.
They just want them to say what they want to hear.
Yeah, so you need to leave them, or another way that you can put it is neutral. Be as neutral as you can. Okay? So that's step one, okay? That's knowing your purpose. So somebody summarize for me, just summarize, what's your role as the moderator?
To kind of guide the conversation, or to guide the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And to be the audience's voice and kind of gather as much information as possible.
And like relevant information.
Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and rephrase that. You guys you're in a very special position, okay? You're going to help inform the public, and you're going to help them make a better decision than before they walked into the debate, okay? You know, my goal, this is a side note, but this is how you know you've achieved your goal as the moderator. Did the audience get information that they could not get anywhere else? That's how you know you've achieved your goal. Because any candidate can put something up on the internet, they can put it up on a website, they can go and they can meet a person one-to-one. But what are you going to be able to get from them in this forum that they won't reveal or nobody else will see anywhere else? That's your goal, to get information that nobody else can or that is not accessible anywhere else. Cool? So this is the next part. I'll actually read these quotes. Google is not a synonym for research. So here's let me take a step back. To ask a really, really good question, you need to have knowledge about the subject. There are such things as dumb questions, okay? There are, but there's also such things as smart questions. And the smarter you are, or the more you know about the subject, the better the questions you're going to ask. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay, so this next step is very practical because this is what you will be involved with in the next couple weeks, I imagine, and all the way leading up to the debate is research. Okay, you need to do your own kind of information gathering before the debate. So here's two quotes. Google is not a synonym for research. I thought that was pretty funny. And never pray to be a better slave when God is trying to get you out of your situation. I don't really know what that has to do with anything, but I read it and I thought I'd put it in there. So,
You get.
all right. You guys have been in high school. How do you do research?
Google it.
Not the way you want to hear.
Until tomorrow.
Go to the UTEB library. Cuddle up there. Learn what you would say.
Or else it'll be turned
Okay.
into mini versions.
Google, library, except I don't know who goes to the library nowadays except to go on Google.
Where's the lie? That's about it.
That's it. That's it.
Interview people.
Yeah. Like information from other people.
I had to do that one.
You guys may know these more academically known as secondary sources or primary sources. You look at both. So what are primary sources of research? You can go to the candidate's website. This is, you guys will figure this out as you go, but what I'm trying to get you to start thinking is, where do you get this information? Okay? And, so hold on one second. I'm getting a call from my mother. All right, bye, Mom. Okay.
Oh, bad son.
Bad son. Alright, she'll worry later. So the question next should be, well, what are you going to be researching? What can you research prior to, let's say, the filing date?
The what date?
What can you research prior to the filing date?
The requirements to be a candidate?
And why does that matter?
So they know, you know if they're qualified.
Yeah, because then you know what they can and can't do, and like what the position entails, and then
Right.
Okay,
If they can
okay, so
even
yes,
get to-
I understand. So it's not what it takes to, the way I understood your question is, are you over 21 years old? Are you an American citizen?
26 years old.
Yes, this is what we're talking about. Good job, Ileana. I think that was you.
Yep.
What is the power of the office? What are the duties and responsibilities of this person? So let's be a little bit more specific. What position are these candidates running for? You guys should know this off the top of your head. What position are they running for?
District 16 congressional seat?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I don't really care the fact that it's 16th, but congressional, I mean, can we go more specific than congressional?
U.S. representative.
U.S. representative in what part of Congress?
The House of Representatives.
Okay, so they are running to be federal House reps or national House representatives. I mean, it's kind of being redundant. When you say a rep, most people know it as being a House rep, but they're senators as well, right? So that's important. You need to figure out what the House y'all are aware, there are also state House representatives. So there's different powers and responsibilities and duties from a federal House rep to a state House rep. So that's step one, is you got to figure out what can they actually do. What are their duties? What are their responsibilities? I'm curious, do any of you guys know this, anything off the top of your head?
That they can do?
Yeah. Do you know, like, do they deal with the streets in El Paso? Do they deal with the bridge? Deal with border patrol? I mean, do you guys know anything about the powers of the House rep?
Well, I guess, I think, yeah, they deal with border patrol and, like, in general, like, well, no, I'm not sure.
So there needs to be research done there.
Yeah.
What else do you need to know about, or what else can you learn, or what else do you need to know about the candidate?
The candidate or the office?
We got the office down.
All right.
What else do you need to know? And I had a leading question right there.
I guess just like their party platform or like their personal platform. Am I correct?
broader than that. I mean, put yourself in the position of the audience, okay? You're going to go listen to people who are running for office, okay? You probably don't care about this, but as the moderator, you do care about it because you need to be able to say, hey, you're out of bounds. Hey, you can't actually do that. You need to make sure that you blow the whistle when they're going out of bounds, okay? And I think I gave the example of the last debate where the same moderator who went very, very deep in the wrong direction was also able to catch a different candidate who was promising things that they couldn't do. So the candidate said something about lowering the federal tax rate, and he goes, you're not a House rep. You don't run for Congress. You can't do that. Okay? But put yourself as an audience member. You're going and you're listening to these people. What do you want to know?
What the candidate would do with that power?
Yeah, that's the policy. But let's go a little bit. Something else. Okay, when you go for a job interview, okay, let me give you a different analogy. You go for a job interview. If any of you guys have jobs or have looks for one, what is one of the things that they ask you for, the interviewer?
Qualifications?
Yes, they ask you for your resume. They ask you for your experience. This one, sorry. That's important. What makes you qualified to be a candidate? Have you run for office before? Have you worked in the city council? Are you in charge of nonprofits? I think wouldn't it be important for you to know if the person was a basketball coach or if they were a career politician? Yeah, it's a rhetorical question. Yeah, you should know. What did they do before? What have they accomplished? Maybe this is also important, is what are their accomplishments? Because experience does not equal accomplishments. I could work for the city for 10 years and never get anything done.
So you'd be the typical city employee.
Exactly. So there's one last thing, and this is, what does the audience need to know? So these are the three big things you'll be researching in the next couple weeks to right up to the debate. What's the power of the office? What makes this candidate qualified? And what does the audience want to know? Now, I don't know how you guys or how y'all have discussed it amongst yourselves. I don't know if this is something you all want to do together. If a team wants to take one question and another team wants to take another question, and you guys all do research over a week or a weekend and then convene to teach each other or put it on a Google Doc. You need to figure out the best way to do this research, and I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay? I don't know if you guys want to talk about it right now or if you guys have any ideas.
When you're asking them what does the audience need to know, what are they looking for in that type of research?
Okay, in previous debates, we used to ask the community for questions. We did that, what I would consider primary research, direct research. We went and we asked people, tell us what you want to know, okay? But that doesn't have to be an internet form. That could be talk to people who know about the office, or talk to people who've worked with the candidate, and then ask them, hey, what do you want to know from the candidate? You know, when you're doing primary research after the candidates have filed, and you go and you start asking people in the city, people who worked with them or people who know of them, you can ask them that. What do you want to know? What's important to you? Because it gives you a feel to know, okay, what should we focus on in our debate? You know, maybe you can set up a poll. Maybe get a poll going, and after you've figured out, you know, the powers of the office, you set up a poll and say, hey, here are the main, you know, issues that candidates are responsible. You know, rate these 1 through 10, or name your top 3, and then you set up a poll and then just send it to people. And then from there, it could help you understand what the audience cares about. You know, ask people one-on-one, set up a poll. I don't know, you guys be creative on this. This one you gotta be creative on. Ask your parents.
Well, I think as far as the first two, I don't know that it would work well for us to just say like, oh, we'll research this and then reconvene. I think honestly it'd just be better to have a meeting and all just get on our computers and look stuff up and tell each other, put it on the board, stuff like that. Because otherwise it gets thrown in with the homework file.
Right.
I definitely
agree with that statement.
Okay, well, you guys figure out how to do this best. All I'm going to suggest is, if you do the research together all at once, you need to have somebody who's not there, or somebody who will revisit the research to cross-check it, because you want to avoid groupthink.
What do you mean by groupthink?
If you have 10 people working on the same thing at the same time, you have blind spots. And the group think is, you know, everybody gets on the same page and agrees on something, at the fault of there might be something they're missing, or there might be a position that disagrees or is contrary to the conclusion they've come to. But they don't see it because all 10 people have agreed and nobody wants to speak out against the group.
Is that going to be an issue for the first two, though? I feel like those are pretty objective, like, facts. We just have to all...
I don't know. That's what I'm saying, is I don't know. I think that's something, and I'm just saying, just be aware that it exists. I don't think it'll be an issue, but just make sure that somebody is just closely, because, you know, you might miss something here. And if all of you, you know, if all 10 of you feel like you've accomplished something and finished your research, there could be something you're missing. Or this, you know, you never know if maybe there's a position or a rule or something. I don't know. There's always the possibility that you miss something. So I'm just saying that if you all work together, that's fine. But either review what you've done after the fact, or have 1 or 2 other people do independent research just to see if there's any gaps that are missing.
When they're looking at that, what is the power of the office? Should they be looking for duties and responsibilities that are formal or informal or both?
Yes.
I mean, because there's some that'll be written in law, and then there'll be others that are written in common law.
Correct.
And how would they go about finding the informal policies?
I think you do both. I think you get as much information as you can. You want to prepare yourself as best as you can. You don't want to get caught off guard where the candidate promises something and says, okay, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it. And then you go out on a limb and say, well, I don't know if that's possible, or I don't think that that's in the duties and responsibilities. And they go, yeah, I do. I have that power. It's an informal responsibility. You know, like it's just important to know, can they actually do what they're saying?
Where would they find the informal responsibilities? Would they have to actually talk to a congressman?
Or a government
No, I mean-
teacher named Mr. Berkeley.
I mean,
Because
I
a
think
lot,
it would
a
be
lot
a
of,
wise decision. I think it would be a wise decision to maybe call a couple congressmen who are not from El Paso and see if any of them will answer. Maybe their chiefs of staff will answer and just say, hey, you know, we're running a debate, we're doing some research, and, you know, we have a couple questions for you.
that'd be a cool way to approach it too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they would know the more of the informal duties.
Exactly.
All right,
Or you have a bunch of student workers who work for Beto in DC, and some of them are Coronado graduates. Maybe call them and say, hey, you know, we're doing some research. Is there anybody you can put us in contact with? Be creative. My point is don't be stuck on a computer and just looking at what's on Google, because not everything that's out there is on Google.
all right, we lost a lot of people. What's your closing thoughts, dude?
My closing thoughts. Here you go. Knowledge begets questions. The more you know, the more you scrutinize it. That's it.
Hey, that's cool, I like that. I like
That's
that.
what happened.
We need to do this again, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for
I
your,
will share my deal. I don't know which one this should go to. I'll figure it out eventually. I'll share my doc, so if you guys want to print it out and keep a copy of it,
yeah,
please do whatever you want, add, subtract, modify, and let me know what else I can do to help.
all right, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys,
Love you, dude.
bye.
When do you think we should start? If you guys said we should do it as a group, when is a good time to do it as a group? Could we come in here one of the days over Thanksgiving? Is everyone out of town for all Thanksgiving?
I'm not.
Do you want to come in? Do you want to sacrifice part of a day at Thanksgiving? No. So when's a good time to do it? Guys, the 11th is the filing deadline,
The 11th. Oh.
December.
Okay.
We're running out of time.
So you're
The-
saying Thanksgiving is.
No, I'm not saying Thanksgiving. Guys, if you need a break, you need to take the break. I would never tell you to
The
come up here
filing
during
deadline for what?
filing deadline for the congressional seats. Because once they get the candidates, then we really got to search for the candidates that are running. And we're gonna have a lot of.
Well, we don't have to have all that
one of the
research
days.
done.
Oh.
No, because that's gonna turn into like 5.
Five.
I'm gonna say when we come back after school.
All right. I agree. I think every one of you
think
need
it'll be a
a.
stretch line.
Yeah.
Because I need to get stuff done.
Yeah. Let's do it right after the break. We'll set up an evening, and we'll do a 2-hour evening maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that good? Excellent. Thank you. Did you text your mom yet?
Yeah, she's coming.
Have you texted your mom yet?
I'm calling her.
Are we meeting with the HI here?
Hi, Mom. Staying.
Why?
Mr. Berglund,
Yeah.
she's like 20 minutes away. Could I stand here?
Yeah, you can stay in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Berglund said I can just hang out in his portable and
I wanna walk alone. I
Yeah.
can walk with you if you wait like 5 minutes.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's okay.
Alright.
Okay, Berglund.
She
Bye,
here?
Mama.
No, but she'll be missing.
Stay in here until she.
Well, I'll just wait in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't start up. No, but no. You can say it's stupid. You can blame me, but I don't want you I mean, it's weird out there, and there's weirdos around here. Maybe a lot of them are in here, but, all right, let's take a look at this and see what we can do. We don't have to hammer it all out, but I'm willing to stay as long as it needs to stay, in terms of this. Because I think it's important that we get what we gotta get done.
Well, you're doing that.
All right. Oh, look at my 78, why did you give me a 78? All right. So you're looking at the first one here. Is that what we're looking at?
Part one and part two.
Part one, but part one is the one,
No, you gave part two. So.
oh, that's part two? Oh, all right. So what do you want to look at? What are your questions here?
I just don't know what to.
You don't have any footnotes.
Well, I do. They're just.
They're not on here, dude. That's all your footnotes?
Like,
You realize any piece of evidence has to be noted. There is no common knowledge here. I realize, and if I get crazy, just reach over and punch me, all right? Okay, you can do that. There's no common knowledge. Can you hit the record button? Is it still recording?
I think so. Yeah, it is.
Let me get that in there.